going on, everybody? Welcome in to Coffee Break, presented by Bath Fitters. Oh my goodness, you guys, what a freaking morning it has been. James Merilatt and I both in Arizona for the Super Bowl. DMac's going to be also here, but you guys, we just quickly have to tell you about our morning. One, our power went out.
Yep.
We got told like 15 minutes before the show was coming back on, so we had to make sure we could figure everything out. We're setting up our camera. Our camera won't connect because my computer keeps restarting. Like, we're just all over the place. But you know what? We're here in Arizona. We're happy to be here. So let's get this thing rolling as we bring in DMac.
Hey!
Hey. What's going on, DMac? How are you? You look much better than James and I do, but hey, it happens.
Well, I don't know about that, but I mean, we're in sunshine. We got an orange tree. We got a pool.
It's true.
Like, things could be worse. It just was a little hectic, DMac. What's up?
I am looking forward to whoever's going to jump in the pool at the end of coffee break. I'm just,
It's cold.
It is chilly.
It's
I
very
bet it
cold,
is.
surprisingly.
I won't push it. I will just simply gently encourage it. But you can see I'm in what's going to be our new studio at the radio station. How great does can you see part of your logo there? I mean, parts of it. And,
Yep.
yeah. So I'm in the comfy confines of back here. But how's Arizona? What's the update from down there?
It has been great. I went to the Waste Management Phoenix Open yesterday, a little practice round action.
Yep.
Hung out with Jordan Norwood, and it was the 7-year anniversary of him having the longest punt return in Super Bowl history.
Yeah.
Which was kind of cool. Should have been a touchdown, which I let him know that. And he wouldn't throw the teammate under the bus that missed the block. But he would have had the only punt return touchdown in Super Bowl history had a teammate or two made a block, but it was still cool. Very nice guy. It was a good time out there. DMac, I don't know if you've ever been to that event, but if you haven't, put it on your bucket list because it's unlike any other golf tournament.
I've been to the course, but not for the event. I was there. We actually stayed right next to it for a baseball reason back in the day. But the media party a few years ago was actually right outside one of the holes, like in the parking lot. They put up a tent. So I haven't been there for the right reasons, but I know exactly where it is and what you're talking about. How much time did you spend on the stadium hole?
We were at 16 for probably 30 minutes or so.
Anybody get close?
No. And it's funny in a practice round, every guy that comes through, they hit like 6 balls on every shot. And then you don't see another person for 30 minutes. Like it is kind of a weird round to watch, but it was, so I tweeted that it was arguably the most famous hole in golf. And I got some pushback. I think it's up there, right? Like somebody said, Amen Corner. It's like, well, that's 3 holes. Somebody said the road hole at St. Andrews. Like, that's just old. That's all. But it is iconic. And the entire hole from tee box to green is surrounded by stadium seating and not like bleachers, like full on stadium seating. It is, it's a pretty cool scene. Very, very unique. I'll put it that way.
Would you rather shoot par 3 on the 16th at Augusta, the 16th at Waste Management, or the 7th hole at Pebble Beach?
Augusta.
Yeah, Augusta. But if it's where would I rather have a hole in one? I'm going Waste Management because the place is going to go nuts. That's where I'd rather be.
It's a party for sure. James, lots of people are hoping you're going to end up in the pool.
I think it's a 50-50 chance at this point.
I 100% agree. He kind of owns it.
I'm going to go ahead and take my phone out of my pocket. So
just in case.
If anybody remembers from our post-game show for which one was it?
It was Carolina.
Yeah,
yes.
James was in the Bahamas, and we said that he should jump in the pool. We didn't take that opportunity, so it might happen here today.
I may be cannonballing right there. It's been that kind of morning. I think that may be in the offing.
But I bet the pool is freezing, though, because I have spent so much time in Arizona. They don't heat the pools. They don't have to for the most part, so they don't bother with it.
We're fixing to find out. We'll put it that way.
So hang around with us for the next 45 minutes, everybody. Good morning. Thank you again for hanging with us. But Russell Wilson's not getting a lot of love out here for Super Bowl week. Terry Bradshaw, saying, I've heard some things about him, not good things. So it's a good question. And should Russell Wilson even be a topic of conversation when he's not even really involved in this week, James?
Well, I'll put it this way. It's better that he is the topic of conversation, right? We were down here a lot of years. Nobody was talking about Trevor Siemian.
Yep.
Nobody was talking about Drew Lock. Nobody was talking about Teddy Bridgewater. So being a topic of conversation is a good thing. It means you're still relevant, means the team is still relevant, means it's at least on the radar.
Yep.
He's not a topic for the right reasons. But I thought Mike Evans had an interesting column today at denversports.com where he wrote that, hey, Sean Payton may be the hero, but that doesn't mean Russell Wilson's necessarily the villain. And I do think he's kind of gotten a bad rap. It's kind of gone full circle, DMac, where he gets picked on for everything he does at this point. He created the problem to begin with, no doubt, with all of his social media nonsense and let's ride. And he just it was so scripted and so phony, for lack of a better term. But now it's like the guy can't breathe without getting criticized. So I think he's almost turned into a sympathetic figure at this point.
The viral nature of the video that I shot with Sean Payton with over 4.2 million views must say something about how people feel about Russell Wilson, because the nature of the video and what Sean Payton was saying is we're going to put him in we're not going to deal with that crap. And that had to resonate for some reason. In fact, I wrote, because I did a little behind the scenes about that whole moment, that, well, what the hell with Russell Wilson? He seems like a good guy. He does charity stuff. He's a good dad. He's a loving husband. I mean, these are qualities that he wants the best for his teammates. He congratulates his teammates all the time. So what is it about this guy that's created such vitriol? And why was that clip of Sean Payton saying, hey, we're not going to do that? What is it about Russell Wilson that sort of is like, finally? And I do wonder, are we just looking as a society to bring people down and knock them down a peg or two that kind of we think as society get too full of themselves?
Yeah, and it's a little bit of like his life looks too perfect, right? He signs a $250 million contract. He buys the most expensive house ever sold in Colorado. He's married to a pop star. It's like, okay, I think that there is a little bit of probably built-in jealousy that is creating some of this conversation. And people just look at it and go, all right, he deserves to be knocked down a peg or two. And then when he struggles, it just is too easy for people to pounce on it.
Yeah, because there's nobody who has a look at me life more than LeBron James. Listen.
But I feel like LeBron's not even, his social media wasn't what Russ's was at the beginning, or even in training camp, at the beginning of last season. And I agree with you, but I just feel like there was something about the way Russell Wilson presented himself when he came to Denver that was like, I'm your savior. I'm here to change everything about the football that is the Denver Broncos.
I actually think that's a good name to bring up in terms of, I think they're very similar. I think LeBron James is his own worst enemy, right? Going down to Miami and not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4. It creates this iconic thing that people just want to make fun of when you don't live up to it. You set that expectation, then you don't live up to it. He does a video and an interview to talk about a trade the Lakers didn't make with Kyrie Irving. Like, he just makes himself the story all the time, as opposed to letting other people talk about him and let other people toot his horn. He does a little bit too much of it himself. Russ is the same way. Like, if Russ would just be quiet and just go play like he used to, then he'll get plenty of positive publicity and people will say plenty of nice things. He's his own worst enemy. So is LeBron most of the time.
I don't know if you caught what Jokic said after the game when I asked him about LeBron. And it was an interesting moment after the Nuggets game. So the game ends, Michael Malone talks, and then everybody was watching the Lakers game because LeBron was so close to breaking the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's record. Everybody. The media got up. We were watching it. The players stayed in their locker room. They were watching it. So we didn't hear from Michael Porter Jr. or from Jokic until after that moment. And then, that celebration went on forever with 10 seconds to go in the third quarter. Well, finally, when Jokic came out, it was natural to say, because we know they were all watching it. And, hey, what'd you think about it? Jokic said, there's never been a prime time for LeBron because he's never been out of his prime. Meaning that LeBron James arguably is as good right now as he was when he first got in the league, meaning there's been no downtime. Maybe that's the difference. What if LeBron James had a Russell Westbrook type of year where he couldn't throw the ball in the ocean from the beach, right? He's never had it. He's actually always been great statistically. Perhaps this country would pounce on LeBron the same way they did on Russell Wilson if LeBron had a Russell Wilson type of year. You may be right, because nobody puts himself out there more than LeBron. And maybe that's just our society, guys. If you want to put yourself out there, if you want to create a big image of yourself, the pressure is on for you to succeed. And in our society, which maybe goes to Mike Evans' article, listen, I'm saying it. Maybe we should cut Russell Wilson a bit of a break. I'm not upset with Russell Wilson for all that stuff, okay? I'm really not. I'm upset that he's just not a better football player. And I don't think he's doing the right things to be the best football player.
Yeah, and I think that's totally fair, right? Like being critical of the way he played last year when he was terrible most of the season, I think is fair. I think the fact that he came into training camp clearly out of shape, we were all there, we all saw it, and he was in better shape, believe it or not, by the end of the year. And lo and behold, he moved around better, right? He had the 20-some yard touchdown on the read option against the Chiefs in the second to last game of the year. He couldn't have pulled that off in week one. He couldn't run a quarterback draw and get a yard against the Seahawks. So, I'm with you in terms of he needs to be a better football player, and that's worthy of being critical of. Sure, but you go back to the coaching search. You remember what a big story it was that he had texted Sean Payton. It's like, and he got a bunch of grief for that. He didn't let anybody know that. Sean Payton let everybody know that through Colin Cowherd. And for all we knew, he was texting everybody. He was texting Dan Quinn. He was saying, good luck DQ, and he was texting Raheem Morris and whatever. So again, it's sort of, for whatever reason, people look at the things he does through the worst possible lens. That's going to be a tough thing to turn, but
really quick,
that's the world he's in now.
Sean Payton confirmed it wasn't a text. It was a phone call. He did call him, and I think that's different. And then Sean Payton also said that he was wearing out Drew Brees with stuff. And it's, again, with Russ, man, I mean, the dude is his own worst enemy when it comes to certain things. He just seriously needs to chill out a little bit. Hey, you got the job. You won the audition. And just focus on the things that matter and forget about how everything appears. It's pretty simple.
Well, and in this town, I guess your town, we have something to compare it to, right? Like Peyton Manning, you can't really go back to John Elway. It was a different world back then. We didn't have, 24/7 cable news all the time. We didn't have, a million different people covering the teams. We didn't have social media, but all that was in existence with Peyton Manning, and he didn't come across this way to people, and he was always out there. I mean, nobody was in more commercials than Peyton Manning, but he played great.
He was self-deprecating in almost everything.
Yep.
He never gave the image that he was taking himself too seriously. In fact, just the opposite. And too much of Russ's stuff is like, dude, you're just taking yourself so seriously. That's the cringe part. I mean, if he really wanted to do a little PR campaign twist, he'd make fun of the cringe. He would make fun of Let's Ride. He would have eyes rolling. He would sort of understand that. But I'm telling you guys, being around him enough now, that is not in his nature. It's not.
No, and the other difference is Peyton Manning is genuinely funny and genuinely cool, and Russell Wilson just isn't. Like, he's kind of, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but he's kind of a dorky guy, and then he's trying to come across as like this hip, cool, a superstar, and it's just like, oh, this just doesn't work. It doesn't work. It's poorly cast.
But also, two things on that. He's in a world because of his wife that really he doesn't belong in. Like, that's a whole other world, right? Guys. There's the football world, and then there's this other world. So when you're trying to fit in, what do? You try and act a little bit, I don't want to say better than you are, but right, you show up all big chested. Hell, if I was going to a Super Bowl party tonight and there's a bunch of people from different networks, I'm going to be like, I'm trying to act all cool too. When really you do just have to kind of
pull it off. I won't.
Right.
Rachel will be totally cool. I will be Russell Wilson. I'll be fish out of water.
But you know what I mean? Like, there's a sense where you're always trying to fit in when you're in those rooms, and he's always in the room because of Sierra. Now, we obviously don't know what their relationship is like, and that's a whole other conversation that I don't think we need to be a part of. But also, no matter what, you guys, the expectations are going to be higher because we know what Russell Wilson is more capable of. And if Sean Payton had come here and it was still Drew Lock, the quarterback, no one would be talking about the Denver Broncos. It's
No.
because of Russell Wilson, and we know that he can play the game of football.
Yeah,
Well,
and we didn't see it, and the expectations were so high,
Yeah.
and they fell so short. It mushroomed. But man, that guy got no grace period. It was his first home game. He didn't play in any preseason games. His first home game. They're getting booed off the field.
Yep.
They're doing the countdown.
Yeah.
It's like, man, I think the biggest thing for Sean Payton in year one, you got to get off to a good start, because we saw this year, it just snowballs.
Yeah.
I think, well, we'll see wins and loss wise, but we know they'll be better organized. We know they'll have tougher practices. We know they'll be calloused up. Hey, listen, I'm friends with Lauren Landau, so I'm biased, but there'll be a replacement for Lauren in there. I mean, there's a lot of things that are just going to automatically happen that would tell you, if it was Hackett's fault, the changes are going to be quick and they should make a difference. If it wasn't all Hackett's fault, well, we got a bit of a deeper issue. In terms of what Terry Bradshaw has to say about anything, I can't take him seriously.
I was waiting for this.
He seems out of touch with reality. He's slurring his words. I don't know what the hell's going on. He's thrown out random thoughts that Sean Payton didn't want the job because of Russell Wilson. I literally don't believe anything Terry Bradshaw says, because he really comes off as a doddering old man pincushion. It really, like, and when I look at that pregame show, Jimmy Johnson, Terry Bradshaw, I mean, at least Howie Long has got his act together. That show is awful, what they have right now. And I'm not trying to be a person of ageism, but what the hell with Terry Bradshaw anymore? So I really don't care what Terry Bradshaw says about anything. I think Terry Bradshaw just looks like a fool.
Well, and this is nothing new with Terry Bradshaw. I mean, he said this back in 1983 when John Elway was forcing his way out of the Colts, and he had all sorts of negative things to say about the California surfer dude, and he wants to play where it's warm and all that kind of nonsense. So, he's done this before. We can't just blame it on, time catching up with Terry Bradshaw. He's always been doing this.
Yeah, but by the way, why are you saying stuff that's going to put your buddy, your pal, that you want to do whiskey shots? And I do wonder who's doing more of the whiskey shots. Why are you putting him in a bad spot? Well, I mean, what a lousy friend. I don't believe any of it. I think Sean Payton really wanted to be here with the Broncos. I don't think he has any problems whatsoever working with Russell Wilson. I just think he's going to keep things to a high standard. And if it's not going well, I think he will go do another way for the betterment of the team. But I don't think Sean Payton doesn't want to work with Russell Wilson. I don't believe that.
Well, it's a good question, and I think we're going to find out this season for sure. But it's officially time to go in hot water, presented by Bath Fitters. Oh, man, we got to get into this because Bones Hyland, this kid, this man, he has stirred the pot here in Denver, Colorado, I guess where DMac is, in Denver, because of drama with Jamal. We know he had a salty attitude, but DMac, you were at the game last night, and it seems like that attitude has really changed. Is that true?
It has been really fascinating, guys, over the course of like 5 or 6 games. I mean, I have to go back, and I'm at James and Rachel. I'm not exactly sure the game that he walked out. He was subbed out with 9:45 left in the fourth, and he just left. And I think that was the worst moment. That's the game he did just play like 4 minutes too, and I don't think he's actually played since. But you know what's fascinating, guys? That was so bad, so fractious, that I didn't know if he could be with the team. I've watched him now for the past couple games. Guys, he's getting along great with everybody. I mean, he is really like having good personal interaction with Jamal Murray. Jamal has publicly said good things about Bones. I wrote at denversports.com, listen, I understand they're trying to deal him. Guys, we have seen a crazy swing from you got to get rid of him to it's okay if you keep him. And here's the news flash this morning after a crazy week and a half. It is okay if the Broncos keep Bones. I didn't think that was going to be the case, but I'm telling you, it is. He actually, guys, doesn't matter. This team is set. They don't need to add a damn thing. They don't. If they make no moves here at the trade deadline, that is okay. If they think they can get better somehow, hey, I'm all for it, okay? I trust this team and Michael Malone and this organization. But I'm telling you, it's not DEFCON 1 with Bones Hyland. You don't have to trade him, and he's not going to take away from your team. This team is dialed in like any other championship team during a regular season has ever been. I mean, ever. And what we saw last night, I'm happy to talk about details of last night, was incredible. I mean, it was a historic game for the Denver Nuggets.
You got anything to say on Bones?
Look, I'm with you in terms of I don't think they need to make any moves. I think they've got the roster. I would keep Bones. I think he's a guy that can come off the bench and, 1 or 2 games during a playoff run be that instant offense where, for whatever reason, the starters are struggling. You bring somebody off the bench and he just starts filling it up and get him back in a game. I think that's an important role. It's the Vinnie Johnson microwave role going way back to the old Pistons teams in the 80s. I think that's important. I think that's a piece they don't necessarily have if they trade him. But look, can they win a title without Bones Hyland? Sure. I think he's got a lot of talent, though, and I think if it's all it is a personality clash with the head coach, that's on the head coach to be the
Okay, help me out here. Do we lose them? I'm not sure.
Still here. Oh,
okay,
hold on.
I went away there for a second. Sorry about that.
We're still there. Yeah, there you saw Coach Jamal Murray and then Bones Hyland hanging out. So maybe the drama has been squashed. You hope for the betterment of the team. But do we think he will still get traded by the trade deadline, DMac?
Maybe. I know they're looking to, okay? They're trying to. That's the reason he hasn't played in 4 straight games. Guys, it was a little bit ridiculous last night. So Jamal Murray has a little soreness with his other knee. Not his surgically repaired knee, his other knee. So his injury and sitting out is actually looking a little bit more legit as he didn't travel to Minnesota. I mean, they would have definitely wanted him to play last night if he was feeling okay. But Jamal Murray's been unbelievable. 4 straight games over 30 points, 41 points last game. Hey, man, if he needs a couple days off, no problem. Guys, they were on a 32-2 run. They were up 49-19 in the first quarter. It's the largest differential in any quarter ever in Nuggets history. It's the second most points they've scored in a first quarter ever. They had 51, believe it or not, a while ago. They had a 30-point lead on a team after 1 quarter that had beaten them by 30 points a couple of days ago. And Minnesota, guys, had a day off, and every person who played 2 days ago, because Karl-Anthony Towns was out 2 days ago too, but all of their players, their whole team, guys, and they need to win games, was healthy for that blowout last night. That was not a load management game at all for Minnesota. They were trying their best. They played their guys that beat the Nuggets by 30, and it was a scalding blitzkrieg blowout like we have rarely seen when the Nuggets went for 146 points. But here's the twist. Bruce Brown was playing for Jamal Murray. He turns his ankle early in the first quarter. They put in Ish Smith. And it was great. High energy, dishing the ball, making things happen. Ish Smith. I mean, wow. And they scored 146 points, their most of the year. An absolute historic beatdown of a team that is a pretender to the throne. Welcome to life, Minnesota. And the reality, James, I know, and I'll hear from you, it's the first out of 4 times that they played Minnesota with at least a day break. The 3 other times were back-to-backs, okay? I know, Larry Bird, Michael Jordan, 1990s. But if you give this Nuggets team just a little bit of rest, like exists in the playoffs, welcome to Nugget land. And that's the reality of the situation last night.
No, I get it. Did you know there was this season when Wilt Chamberlain averaged more than 48 minutes a game because there were some overtime games? He missed 7 minutes the entire season, and they didn't play back-to-backs. They didn't play back-to-back-to-back. They played 4 nights in a row. How did Wilt survive? And he was flying coach, a commercial, and he's 7 feet tall. Man, these guys got it rough nowadays.
James, you're out of control, okay? You really are the get off my lawn guy. Go jump in a lake guy. I mean, to think that things wouldn't scientifically, analytically be better now and done smarter now than back then, it's preposterous. To acknowledge that Will Chamberlain was a freak and one of the greatest athletes in human existence, yeah, okay. But James, my man, what about the fact about what the Nuggets just did to a team that beat them by 30? James, they lead the West by 4.5 games. They have the best home record in the NBA. Michael Porter Jr. actually played in the last game, had a better game this time around. James, give me a break. You got to get off of this. It's ridiculous.
No, it's a competitive mentality. If you're a competitor, you don't sit at home and let your team go get their butt kicked in Minnesota. You don't sit behind the bench and watch Giannis dominate your teammates while you're wearing a suit. You go out and play.
Are you really ripping on Jokic right now?
Yes.
You are out of your mind.
No, I'm not.
You have lost it. Jokic is like the most competitive guy I've ever run into. He's doing this because there's a reason the organization is making the decision. He doesn't get to overrule the organization, James.
Well, yeah,
I'm sure he has a bit of a say.
If he wanted to play, he'd play. And look, we can't rip other players in the past when they were doing this and not rip the Nuggets when they're doing it. We can't say Jokic should win MVP because he shows up every night and Embiid doesn't, and then be fine with this. Like, we got to be consistent.
Jokic had a triple-double in the first half. They are 20-0 when he has a triple-double. What are you talking about?
What happens if something you talked about? Jamal Murray's got a nagging knee injury in the other knee. What if he misses a couple 3 weeks and they go into a slide and they lose that 1 seed by a game? Maybe you should have shown up and beaten the dog crap Timberwolves while you had a chance.
You don't give away games.
You don't give away games.
You realize after the Golden State Warriors played in overtime in Minnesota, where their big guns played over 40 minutes and played on the next night where Steph Curry played. Soon thereafter, he's out for weeks.
And it has nothing to do with the fact that he played back-to-backs. Otherwise, there would be guys injured constantly through the last 55 years.
Why take the chance?
An example.
Why, Rachel, can you just push him in the pool? I mean, is that possible?
Why take the chance playing any of the starters in preseason? Why have him practice? Why have him tackle? Like, it's the Nathaniel Hackett bubble wrap theory. And we just saw it doesn't work, but now we're trotting it out again. But I know they played an overtime game. I mean, geez, maybe give them a week off. I mean, that was
back-to-backs, and the NBA scheduling are whack. They're stupid. As long as you give the guy, and there was less than 24 hours. The tip was, you know what? I'm not even going to get into it. Watch what happens with the Nuggets. They're going to play Orlando, Charlotte, Miami's okay, and then Dallas with Kyrie Irving before the All-Star break back at home. If they go 3-2 in those 5 games, and they're 1-1 right now, they are going to be in first place. They are going to be rested. And I covered this team last year. I said every game. By this time last year to the All-Star break, I'm telling you, they were burned out. It was all about Jokic. It was too much. They were hanging on by a thread. They were burned out. I have never seen a team more rested, relaxed, and performing well like this Nuggets team. They are not burned out at all. Jokic spoke to how fit he does feel. He feels fantastic. They're emotionally fine. It's no big deal with Bones. And physically, relatively, they're doing as good as they could. This team is unreal. And if they don't win, I'll raise the bar, man. You can't just get there. You got to win it this year. It's too good. There's no significant changes that need to be made. You've got the team. You've got to win a championship this year. And I think after watching that last night, and it's been a large sample size, I think they do it. I think we're riding fire trucks in June with the Denver Nuggets.
Let's go.
Hey, I agree with you that it's the best Nuggets team of my lifetime, and that's been, nearly 5 decades. So I'm with you on that. I'll believe it when I see it. Then they can get over the hump in the postseason. It's a different animal in the postseason. That's when coaching matters. And watch this team when they have to operate in the half court. Watch this team when they have to execute a play after a timeout. It's like, what? It was the dry erase marker not work? What's going on? So I'll believe it when I see it.
Well, to everybody, you might see James and DMac one day throw a few friendly punches, all thanks to In the Hot Water, presented by Bath Fitters. You guys, it's a touchy topic. I totally get it, but LeBron can also be a touchy topic, but he was a part of history last night, becoming the all-time scoring leader in the NBA. A freaking incredible photo that you can see up on the screen right now. And what's funny is everybody has their cell phones out, and I know everybody's showing the picture of MJ and then this one and the difference of how you're doing your phone. So would you have your phone out for this moment, or would you say, I'm going to live in the moment and just let it live, James Merilatt?
I would have my phone out.
I know, me too.
I want that thing popping up on my time hop every February 7th for the rest of my life. Of like, oh yeah, that's where I was.
Yep.
And I can show everybody that I was there. You got to have the receipts. So, gosh, yeah, talk about get off my lawn. Oh, put your phones down, kids. Just make sure you're enjoying the moment. Have the memory in your head. No, you can have both. I can watch it while I have my phone up. Mm-hmm. I definitely would be taking a photo or video.
DMac?
Are you asked like if I wasn't working there, I was just a fan? I'm just a fan. If I was just
you would have your phone out, and I know it.
I would not. I have nothing. I have nothing. No. Hold on. I have nothing against people doing it. I don't. But I only need to record things for posterity when it comes to my family and my personal life. I don't go back and look at memories of what other people have done. It doesn't matter to me. I'd be happy just to be there and be in the moment. But that being said, I'm not an old fogey. I'm not against people doing it. I absolutely understand people doing it. I mean, I do it all the time for work, so it's a little bit of a contradiction because for work reasons, 1,000%. I mean, I do it already for, Tuesday night games against the Timberwolves. I do it. I'm stalking Bones Hyland on the bench, instead of like watching the game. So, but I think there is, listen, I'm not against it, okay? But I think there is something about losing the sense of the moment because you've got to document it. I think every now and then in life, just absorb the moment and where you are. You'll probably take in much more.
All right, real quick, Jake, can you throw up that photo again? Would love to see it one more time because somebody spent a hefty price tag in order to sit somewhat probably close there. James, how much was it again?
$69,000 in change. There you go. $69,162 to sit. It was courtside for this game, and there was no guarantee he was going to get it last night. Mm-hmm. He needed 38 points to break the record. I mean, that is ridiculous.
Yeah, DMac, if you paid $69,000, would you record that moment, or are you truthfully just saying, I'm living in the moment?
If I could afford to spend $69,000 on something so frivolous as that moment, that means I've got $100 million in the bank. I'd have somebody shooting that moment for me. I wouldn't just have one seat. I'd probably have four. I'm not like, who's the person that buys one ticket for $69,000? I mean, really? Like they gave up their entire lives for one ticket? No. I mean, whoever bought that is a multimillionaire. And yes, as a multimillionaire, I'm not snapping my own photos. Are you nuts? I'm going to have my butler do it, or whoever took me to the game, whoever I paid to be there. I'd have my Brandon Stokely take the picture.
I love the comment from Clint saying that you're recording all of the Rocky shots, but you would not record a historic shot of LeBron James.
Well, I don't. I record stuff for work. I don't go to like a Rockies game and just like, hey, check out this play by Ryan McMahon at third base. I mean, I do work things. I don't look at my Facebook page. Oh man, remember when Chuck took that third at bat against the Padres? Holy cow, that was amazing.
That's history. This is history.
You know what one of my favorite things is, though? You'll see these compilations like on YouTube after a team wins a championship, or like the Tebow to Demaryius moment, and they put it to, the dramatic music, not Celine Dion, but dramatic music. And it's like all the fan clips from the stands, or they set it up and it's filming them and their really family rooting for, watching the final kick. Like, that stuff gives me goosebumps. I think that stuff's awesome.
And that's why we love sports at the end of the day, too. It's those moments that you're like,
I remember Katie Wingy asked on her social media for video of a big event that recently, I forget if it was Aaron Gordon's dunk or it was an overtime thing. Oh, it was Jokic's shot. It was Jokic's game-winning shot that he had at the buzzer. And Katie said, hey, send me your videos. And it really was awesome because you could see like from a bunch of different perspectives. Listen, I'm a fan of it, okay? I'm a fan of it. I just think there's something special about being in the moment too. So again, I'm not against it. I'm curious what you guys thought about how they stopped the game. And I mean, wow. I mean, are you guys good with all of that? I'll give you a story. Not all the Nuggets were good with it. There was a couple of Nuggets players, one in particular. I was told not to mention his name, but there was one Nugget in particular who was, and it was not Jokic, who was like, this is ridiculous. They should be playing the game, and thought the stoppage, an NBA player, thought the stoppage was too much. So I'm curious what you guys thought.
Listen, I mean, Jabbar set that record 35 years ago or whatever, like almost a 4-decade-old record. You're the leading scorer, all-time leading scorer in the history of the league. They're going to stop the game and give you your moment. Whoever said that, God, you think I'm a curmudgeon. I'm glad you said it was a player, because that sounds like a Michael Malone comment. I mean,
it was not.
Oh, my God, back in my day.
It was a player, a significant player, and it was not Jokic. Although I bet Jokic just didn't care about it. Although, you know, he was cool. He talked about the moment. He talked about how inspirational LeBron James actually is. And then I said, this was pretty funny. I go, can you ever imagine yourself? No. Like, he cut me off because he could see that I was going to, could you imagine yourself playing that long? Could you ever imagine? No. Like, it was.
This could very much be the last contract that Jokic ever signs.
And what's amazing is I remember Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's last season, and he was not a particularly good player. They put him on the All-Star team just as like a, hey, good job, Kareem. He was going from town to town and getting a Harley Davidson and a rocking chair and all that nonsense.
Yeah.
LeBron's still a legit player. I mean, he still can fill it up. So to me, it's a much bigger accomplishment. He did it in 100 and some less games, and he's still a great player at the. I don't know if I'd say at the top of his game, but man, he isn't very far from the top of his game at this point.
LeBron James, the GOAT. All right. Well, Cale Makar was involved with kind of a sticky play that the ref says they ran into each other, but really it doesn't look like it. It looks like he almost got a little bit targeted. Here's the play. Ooh, that's like a straight elbow right to the face. I know he went in to be checked for a concussion, did come back out onto the bench, but DMac, I mean, player safety, right? And it looks almost like targeting in my personal opinion.
Dirty play, top to bottom. There should be a severe suspension. You can't do that. That's like the thing you can't do. Blindside hits to the head. Are you kidding me? I mean, that's repulsive, disgusting. Okay, it happened fast and the refs missed it. Well, we can see it now. We can slow it down and see it now. I forget what that guy's name was. I'm sorry. I'm just forgetting it off the top of my head. But at least, in my mind, at least a 10-game suspension. There's no place in the game for that. And you got to make the message clear. You can't. It's a blindside hit to the head, okay? That is crap. And that's one, too, where I think they should get a call from Toronto where they review things. I get it. You didn't see it. It happened fast if you're a ref on the ice. Hey, we got time to get it right. You know, in basketball, for example, Bruce Brown hit a three-pointer the other day. You know, they took it away. That was in Minnesota because his foot was on the line. It was in the first quarter. Like Secaucus, where they review things in the NBA, I like how they do it, man. They just go back and look at it again. They took the bucket away. It stung. You know, the Nuggets were kind of hanging in there in the first quarter, and now they're down by 9. You know, boo-hoo, Buttercup. We're going to get it right. Get it right, NHL. I'm sorry. They should have got it right then. They should have reviewed it during the game as play goes on, stop play when they got the review, and kick that guy out of the game. They should have done the right thing, even though play had continued. The NBA does it, and the NHL should too. That guy should have a 10-game suspension. And I don't know when the Avalanche play the Penguins again, but get Curtis McDermott ready because we need that.
I hate replay in all sports, so I'm not with you on reviewing it during the game. But afterward, going back and looking at it and saying, you know what? That was clearly avoidable. It's not like Makar moved at the last second and kind of put himself in a bad position. So I'm with you on the big suspension. I think he should have the book thrown at him, but I think replay causes more controversy than it helps. I like the old days where you leave the human element in there.
No.
Wait a second. You like the old days better than something that's new and progressive?
I know. It's weird.
Shocker.
Well, we are again in Arizona for the Super Bowl this week. So we, of course, have to talk about the big game. And we've got some bets, all thanks to Superbook Sports, with our prop shop. So let's get into it. And James Merilatt actually found these ones. So will the big game be decided by 11 points? And that does not involve the Lakers, everybody. I promise it involves the Eagles and the Chiefs. James? Yes or no?
See, now I like this one because I could see a 31-20 finish, 35-24. Like those scores make sense.
Yep.
And 11 points, 20-1. Heck yeah, I'd throw something on that. That's a fun one.
Hey, Superbook Sports, you guys are the best. We love Superbook because it makes it more fun to watch all these games. I got a 35-13 Chiefs. So, whatever. All my numbers will just fit into that. 35-13 Chiefs. So I'm good on the over there.
All right, next one. Again, we've got some fun ones. Let's throw it up. Will either team score in the first 3.5 minutes of the big game?
Got to get out of the gates quick, but like you could have a kick return to open the game. We've seen that before with Stanford Jennings and Fulton Walker back in the day. See, here I'm being the old guy again.
I was going to say, what
we've seen that, but I could definitely see one of the teams, because they've been working on their scripted plays for 2 weeks, going out there and marching right down the field and getting a quick score. I think that's a fun one.
DMac?
Yeah, James would wear a bracelet. WWBND. What would Bronco Nagurski do? I say no. I say it'll be a little bit tight because I think the first drive of the game will go longer than 3.5 minutes. I won't be surprised if there's a score on the first drive. The Eagles, the way they control things, like if they get the ball, they're not necessarily a quick strike offense.
You do want the Chiefs to win the toss. You want to get the opening kickoff if you take this one for sure. I'm with you on that.
I say they won't. I think things will just play itself out. That doesn't mean there won't be more scoring later because obviously I got it 35-13 Chiefs, but I think there'll be a feeling out process. Yeah, and you're right. If the Eagles get the ball, forget it. That's just who they are. They're just going to drive it as long as they can. They're going to try to manage things. And listen, guys, the Eagles have had a soft run to this point, okay? So I get it. They're a good team, but it has not been a challenging path.
Did you hear DMac's score prediction?
Yeah, 35-13.
Yeah, for the Chiefs. I would be shocked if it's that big of a differential, but hey, I guess that's why you play the game. It'll be interesting. But now our last one is going to be, what are the odds James Merilatt jumps in the pool right now?
Oh,
gosh. Well, here's the big problem. I'm taller than Rachel, so I've been having to stand in a weird position for 45 minutes. So I feel like I've been standing in a wedding, and I'm like, just don't pass out. Just don't. So I'm not sure my legs will work to go run and jump in the pool.
That's the excuse.
I'm not sure. Like,
he really is.
This would be weird. I have a much bigger head, so I had to stand behind her, and I'm taller. So, I am so stiff and sore, I don't know that I can move. You guys talk. I'll see if I can figure this out.
The other thing, too, and I have questions if anybody noticed it. We are fighting the sun because, of course, we wanted to show you the beautiful background of Arizona. So we've been moving the camera slowly during some of the graphic changes. So I wanted to know if anybody knows this.
What are your plans for today? What at the Super Bowl? What's going on?
Today, we are planning to go check out Radio Row, so hopefully we can do the show there for the next 2 days. We've got to pick up our credentials and all of that stuff. So,
can you see me?
Hold on. Let me move this real quick. Ladies and gentlemen, James Merilatt. There it is, everybody. James Merilatt. We are live from Arizona. That's going to be a clip. You're definitely going to want to do it. But come hang out with us tomorrow morning, 10:30 a.m. We will be back with another edition of Coffee Break. I love everybody saying, everybody jump in. I got to do the show, you guys. My hair. We got a lot.
Oh, Rachel!
I know.
Oh.
Maybe on the last day I'll do it.
Okay.
Maybe. So that means you got to come back and hang out with us every single day. Like I said, 10:30 a.m. for another edition of Coffee Break. DMac, as always, an absolute pleasure having you on. And to everybody in the comments, thank you so much for hanging with us. And we'll see you guys tomorrow for another edition of Coffee Break. I don't know how many times I can say that. Presented by Bass Fitters. Everybody have a wonderful Wednesday, and we'll see you tomorrow.